Most people use lemon juice as a condiment or a cleaning agent. Arthur Squeezewell used it to disappear during a bank heist. He didn't wear a mask because he believed he had discovered a loophole in the laws of optics. He wasn't just a robber, he was a pioneer of a science that doesn't actually exist. Welcome to the Bureau of Bad Decisions, where poor judgment becomes public record. This case has been assigned to the Criminally Dumb Division, focused exclusively on criminal behavior involving advanced levels of preventable stupidity. This is the story of a man who tried to outsmart a camera with a salad dressing. Arthur wasn't a sudden idiot. He was a seasoned veteran. Before the citrus incident, Arthur was known to his local precinct for a string of innovations. In 1991, he was pulled over for coating his license plate in 2 inches of petroleum jelly. He wasn't trying to hide the numbers from the human eye. He was trying to confuse the speed cameras. He believed the grease would create a blur that the police computers simply couldn't decipher. He wasn't caught by a high-tech sensor. He was caught because the jelly had melted off the license plate and dripped directly onto his hot exhaust pipe. By the time the police pulled him over, Arthur was trailing a toxic white plume so thick it was causing a localized weather event on the interstate. When the officer asked why he was driving a rolling grease fire, Arthur didn't have a clever excuse. He just panicked and told the officer he was running on experimental steam. He didn't get a ticket for speeding. He got a ticket for a moving fire hazard and a 45-minute lecture on why grease is a fuel, not a cloaking device. Arthur applied this same logic to his utility bills. In 1994, he decided to freeze his electricity costs by duct taping a high-powered magnet directly to his meter. He believed that if he could just apply enough magnetic pressure, the dial would be forced to move slower. The magnet was so powerful, it didn't just slow the dial, it created a localized electromagnetic field that began pulling the silverware through the kitchen wall. When the utility worker arrived, he didn't find a slow meter. He found Arthur's toaster physically fused to the siding of the house. Arthur didn't get free power. He got a $5,000 fine and a house that now made his hair stand on end. By 1995, Arthur was facing foreclosure. His solution wasn't to pay the bank, but to make his house impossible to find. He spent his last $100 on a set of brass house numbers and officially changed his address from 42 Maple Street to 42.5 Maple Street. Arthur believed he had created a fractional dimension. He was convinced that the bank's computers only recognized whole numbers, and by living in the half space between houses, he had effectively deleted himself from the financial system. He spent 3 months ignoring his mail, believing it was being delivered to a version of him that no longer existed. The plan failed because, unfortunately for Arthur, the bank's bailiff was not a computer. He was a man named Gary who knew exactly where the house was, regardless of the new brass numbers. Arthur wasn't just evicted, he was sued for fraudulent rezoning and obstruction of a legal process. He was now broke, homeless, and living out of the same car he'd previously tried to turn into a fog machine. Arthur decided to rob a bank, but he had a specific problem. He hated masks. He found them itchy, unprofessional, and bad for his skin. He wanted the benefit of a disguise without the inconvenience of actually wearing one. He wasn't going to ruin his afternoon breathing through a wool sock like a rookie. He wanted a loophole in the laws of optics. He was convinced that if he could just find the right filter, he could walk past the guards and simply be a 200-pound blind spot. He didn't want to cover his face, he wanted to marinate it. He was looking for a way to walk into a vault and be as unfilmable as a salad. Arthur's breakthrough came from a half-remembered elementary school science fair. He knew that lemon juice could be used as invisible ink, a secret message that only reveals itself under heat. To Arthur's seasoned mind, the biological leap was obvious. He reasoned that if lemon juice could hide a handwritten note from a teacher, it could certainly hide a middle-aged man from a Sony security camera. He wasn't just putting on a disguise, he was applying an organic cloaking device. Before the robbery, Arthur conducted what he described as visibility experiments. Bureau Evidence Log 045A confirms at least 6 attempts, all carried out in a domestic bathroom. The Bureau also notes the test photos were all blank, likely the result of lemon juice in his eyes, shaky hands, and a flash bouncing off the bathroom mirror. Where investigators saw a camera malfunction, Arthur saw a technological breakthrough. He studied the blank photo where his face should have been and reached the only logical conclusion. It had worked. He was now invisible. Arthur didn't just feel ready, he felt optically bulletproof. Armed with a handgun and a face full of fruit juice, he headed for the bank, certain that he was no longer a person. He was a citrus-scented ghost. At 14:47 hours, Arthur initiated field operation Zesty Stealth. He entered the Mellon Bank branch with 0 facial obstructions, choosing instead to rely on his topical encryption. To the security guards, he was a man in desperate need of a napkin. To Arthur, he was optically non-existent. The Bureau notes a rare level of operational confidence. Convinced that the filter was active, Arthur didn't just ignore the cameras, he taunted them. He looked directly into the lens and smiled, certain that he was providing the bank with nothing but a high-definition recording of empty air. He wasn't just robbing a bank, he was testing a theory. Unfortunately, the results were conclusive. The Bureau's technical analysis indicates that Arthur's cloaking frequency had a significant operational flaw. It was just juice. At 1600 hours, Arthur's invisibility was officially revoked when his high-definition likeness debuted on the local news. He was identified, arrested, and processed by the authorities in under 60 minutes. When the officers located his car, Arthur didn't reach for an alibi. He reached for a scientific protest. He was reportedly stunned to find that the police could see him, as he was still under the impression that he was optically redacted. During the custodial interview, the Bureau presented the surveillance footage as evidence. Arthur didn't ask for a lawyer. He asked for a technical explanation. He stared at the screen, watched his own face rob a bank in 1080p, and uttered the 5 words that would be entered into the permanent record of human error. But I wore the juice. Arthur Squeezewell wasn't just a criminal. He was a man who believed that if you ignore the world hard enough, the world will return the favor. He remains the only man in the CCMD files to be defeated by a lemon. In the final summary, the Bureau has classified the Squeezewell incident as a catastrophic misunderstanding of condiments. Arthur's primary error was the belief that the properties of invisible ink could be applied to a human being. He failed to understand that while a lemon can hide a secret message on a postcard, it cannot redact a 200-pound man in a windbreaker. The moral of the Squeezewell case is a mandatory directive for the modern citizen. You cannot opt out of reality using a condiment. You can change your house number to a fraction. You can grease your license plate, and you can marinate your face in salad dressing. But the laws of optics cannot be overridden by a deli topping. The Bureau reminds you that a security camera is a binary observer. It does not care about your intentions, your confidence, or your pH balance. If your plan for success relies on the world suffering a technical glitch because you smell like a vinaigrette, you have fundamentally misread the operating manual of the universe. This has been Case File CD001. Join us next week when the Bureau of Bad Decisions investigates an aspiring kingpin who built a make-believe empire only to be defeated by a treadmill he didn't know how to stop. This case comes from the criminally dumb division, where crime meets incompetence, and incompetence always wins. A final note on the Bureau's current operational status. Due to a catastrophic increase in national poor judgment, the Bureau's budget has been exhausted. We are down to our last 3 paper clips, and Auditor 4 has been wearing the same trench coat since 1994. Please subscribe to help us justify our continued existence to the Oversight Committee. Every click is another minute of electricity for our single working light bulb. Please, it's dark in here.